Jamal Warner, best known and beloved for his groundbreaking role.
Malcolm-Jamal Warner, the face that once lit up living rooms across America, was suddenly gone, and Hollywood stopped cold in disbelief. On July 20th, 2025, the headlines erupted. Warner, forever remembered as Theo Huxtable from The Cosby Show, had died in a shocking drowning accident while in Costa Rica. But the heartbreak didn't end there. What happened after his funeral shook people to the core. A hidden archive that Warner had protected for years was finally unlocked. And what spilled out left family, friends, and fans gasping for air. Inside were never-before-seen family snapshots, raw, handwritten letters dripping with emotion, and rare career artifacts that had never been shared with the public. But buried between these keepsakes were darker clues, cryptic hints pointing to a life far deeper and more complicated than the polished Hollywood image we were sold. And the most jaw-dropping revelation, that part is still waiting for you, and it changes everything. From the rough streets of Jersey City to the glittering heights of Hollywood fame, Warner's secret archive revealed more than just the life of a star. It exposed the journey of a man chasing truth, meaning, and something far bigger than himself. Tucked between warm family portraits and iconic stage memorabilia were raw fragments of his earliest beginnings, pieces of his childhood, his roots, and the grind that built his rise. Each page felt like stepping into the hidden blueprint of a life that was never as simple as it looked on TV. Malcolm-Jamal Warner's story began on August 18, 1970, in Jersey City, New Jersey, right in the middle of America's cultural earthquakes and social unrest. Even his very name carried fire and weight. Malcolm, honoring Malcolm X, the fearless civil rights fighter, and Jamal, inspired by Ahmad Jamal, the world-renowned jazz legend. From day one, destiny wasn't just calling his name, it was shouting it. His mother, Pamela Warner, carried her own heavy dreams and laid them directly onto her son's shoulders. She wanted him sharp but soft, tough but creative, and Malcolm delivered every bit of it. Growing up in a modest home, his world wasn't built on luxury or privilege. His parents split when he was young, leaving Pamela to play double duty, mom, backbone, and even his first manager. She saw that spark in her son before anyone else dared to. By the time Malcolm was just 7 or 8, he was already standing in front of the mirror, acting out TV characters line for line, copying every tiny gesture like a pro. Pamela wasted no time. She threw him into acting classes, and later had him enrolled at New York's prestigious Professional Children's School, the very training ground where stars are molded. By 1979, when other kids were stressing about math homework, Malcolm was already chasing paychecks. At just 9 years old, he was landing children's theater roles and national commercials, mastering the art of the camera with those piercing eyes, his sharp expressions, and that unforgettable voice. These became his secret weapons, the tools that would make Hollywood lean in closer. Then came 1984, the turning point. NBC was searching coast to coast for fresh faces to headline their brand new sitcom, The Cosby Show. The role, Theo Huxtable, the brainy, charming, slightly awkward eldest son. Over 200 teens battled for the part, but 13-year-old Malcolm didn't just audition. He snatched the spotlight and beat them all. That win didn't just change Malcolm's life, it burned his face into American pop culture forever. From the very first season, The Cosby Show blew up into a phenomenon, crushing the Nielsen charts, and Malcolm was instantly crowned America's eldest son. By 1986, while still only 16, he had already scored an Emmy nomination for Outstanding Supporting Actor in a Comedy Series, a jaw-dropping honor for someone still hustling homework between a brutal 39-week shooting schedule. The pressure could have cracked him, but instead, it lit a different fire. Music. Malcolm wasn't just a TV star, he was a soul in love with sound. He grabbed a bass guitar and instantly fell into the world of jazz, funk, and R&B. When the camera stopped rolling, friends said he'd slip into shadowy New York jazz clubs, sitting quietly in the back, soaking in the wisdom of musicians who had no idea they were shaping a teenage superstar's next chapter. His teen years were a double life, regular Jersey kid by day, Hollywood darling by night. But through all the chaos, Pamela's words never left him. Don't let the spotlight blind you. Remember who you are and where you come from.
And the most jaw-dropping part?
That voice saved him from the traps that destroyed so many other child stars. And hidden in his private archive were treasures from those years. Photos of a boy chasing fame while clutching tightly to his roots. and secrets that hinted he was already planning something far bigger than sitcom stardom.
So even before my wife.
One snapshot showed a tiny Malcolm gripping a bass guitar almost bigger than his own body. Another treasure, a fragile ticket stub from an Malcolm-Jamal concert in 1982, a night his proud mom made sure he never forgot, and tucked inside was a scribbled note from Pamela, written in a rush before that life-changing 1984 audition. No matter the outcome, you've already made me proud. That piece of paper hit harder than any award could. From a boy born in Jersey City in 1970 to stepping into the Huxtable living room, Malcolm-Jamal Warner became stitched into the fabric of millions of childhoods across America. Those early years didn't just prep him for fame, they explained the why. So when that hidden archive finally opened, it didn't just spark nostalgia, it broke hearts worldwide. Fans saw the blueprint of a young man who had given pieces of himself to culture long before Hollywood even realized his worth. And then came the break no teen actor could dream of matching. In 1984, Malcolm didn't just book a role. He walked headfirst into television history. The Cosby Show ran from September 20th, 1984 until April 30th, 1992. 8 powerhouse seasons, 197 episodes, nearly always sitting on top of the Nielsen ratings. Viewers literally watched him transform. From the boy rocking oversized, colorful sweaters to the young man packing for college, all under the world's microscope. By the time the final episodes aired, Warner was living in a bizarre paradox. 8 straight years as Theo Huxtable had given him everything, fame, money, and Emmy nomination, but also threatened to lock him inside a box forever as nothing more than America's eldest son. That shiny role came with chains, and Malcolm knew if he didn't move fast, his future would vanish under the weight of his past. Warner wasn't about to play Hollywood's puppet. Even while The Cosby Show was still running, he was quietly plotting his escape route. He directed multiple episodes, tested his hosting chops with teen specials, and searched for projects that had nothing to do with sweater-wearing sitcom life. So when the curtain dropped in 1992, he didn't sit back and polish old trophies. He hit the reset button and started clawing out a new identity. By 1996, Warner roared back with Malcolm and Eddie on UPN, teaming up with the wild, high-energy Eddie Griffin. The show lasted 4 seasons, from 1996 to 2000, proving Malcolm wasn't just some washed-up sitcom relic. He had comedic fire, and the chemistry on screen was undeniable. Behind the scenes, he flexed again, directing episodes and sharpening his eye for timing, flow, and the rhythms of real-life comedy. But Warner refused to stay in one lane. As the 2000s rolled in, he flipped the script completely, pivoting into darker, serious roles. From the sci-fi drama Jeremiah, 2002 to 2004, to the layered family series Read Between the Lines, 2011, and later Major Crimes, 2015, Warner kept proving he was more than Theo. Every role was another step out of the Huxtable shadow, and proof that Malcolm-Jamal Warner was building a career on his own terms. And we can't forget his first love, music. Since childhood, it wasn't just a hobby, it was his lifeline, his fire, his heartbeat. With his band Miles Long, Warner strapped on the bass and poured himself into jazz and spoken word, dropping albums and hitting stages at countless shows. Acting might have made him a household name, but music was the place where his soul finally spoke loudest. In 2015, Malcolm-Jamal Warner shut down every critic when he hit the stage alongside Robert Glasper and Lala Hathaway. And together, they snatched a Grammy for Best Traditional R&B Performance with the powerhouse track Jesus Children.
There should be a moratorium on both of those words in hip-hop because it's low-lying fruit, it's so easy, everybody does it to the point that it's corny. Like there are MCs who I love, who I cannot listen to anymore because I love J. Cole, but I had to stop listening to J. Cole because I got tired of hearing and
as much as
every 2 sentences because he's proven himself to be such a incredible lyricist
that you think it's just too low-hanging fruit for him to use those words.
That moment proved he wasn't some actor dabbling in music for clout. He was the real deal, respected and honored by the industry itself. But Warner didn't stop there, and his story only grew louder. By 2018, he had completely reinvented himself for a brand new audience, stepping into the role of Dr. A.J. Austin on Fox's hit medical drama, The Resident. His character was brilliant, blunt, and sometimes flat out prickly. Absolutely nothing like Theo Huxtable. With every sharp line and commanding scene, Warner showed the world he had broken free from his past box and built an entirely new identity that spoke to a whole new generation. And the craziest part, he wasn't stopping at just acting or music. The grind was still expanding. Warner wasn't just an actor or musician. He flexed every talent he had. He produced, he directed, and he even stepped boldly into the digital age with his podcast, Not All Hood. By 2024, that podcast had become his personal stage, an unfiltered mic where he tore into culture, society, and art with a raw honesty that fans couldn't get anywhere else. And now, those same fans cling desperately to his very last upload on Instagram, July 18th, 2025, just 2 days before his tragic death. What was once another entry in his portfolio has become a haunting memorial, flooded with comments from around the world. The numbers alone scream his impact. Over 4 decades in entertainment, more than 30 films and TV shows, dozens of directed episodes, jazz and spoken word albums, and that coveted Grammy win. Warner didn't just work, he dominated lanes most actors never even touch. He wasn't America's eldest son anymore. He was an artist who kept his integrity, constantly reinvented himself, and never lost the respect of the audience that grew up with him. Even the secret archive exposed this side of him. Behind-the-scenes snapshots from Malcolm and Eddie, old film contracts with scribbled notes in the margins, and the actual Grammy ticket from 2015. Each piece revealed not just memories, but a trail of battles, reinventions, and wins that built something much bigger than fame. Malcolm didn't just leave behind memories, he left a blueprint, a model of resilience, creativity, and quiet rebellion that Hollywood couldn't erase. That archive didn't just open a box of keepsakes. It uncovered the empire Malcolm-Jamal Warner had been building all along. After more than 40 years in the game, Warner had stacked up a fortune that left even his loyal fans stunned. By 2025, his net worth was sitting at an estimated $6 million, a massive haul for someone who started as a teenage actor and somehow managed to keep his career alive, relevant, and thriving across decades without crashing out like so many others. The biggest chunk of that wealth came straight from television. At the height of The Cosby Show, Warner's paycheck swelled season after season as the sitcom crushed Nielsen ratings. Across 197 episodes from 1984 to 1992, the show wasn't just a cultural force. It was a money machine, and Malcolm's steady income gave him the financial muscle to chase his own projects and take risks far beyond the Huxtable living room. And when The Cosby Show ended, Warner didn't stumble. He kept cashing in. From Malcolm and Eddie.
I met my wife through a mutual friend. I've never second-guessed it. We've been together almost 10 years, and we have never had a fight, an argument, a raised voice, or a harsh word said to one
In
another.
10 years?
I was like, if I'm going to have a kid, this is the person that I would want to have it with. I talk about them because there are obviously the hugest parts of my life, the best parts of my life, the best decisions I've ever made.
To read between the lines and later The Resident, he locked in high-paying contracts that never let the money stop flowing. Even after the camera shut off, royalties from endless reruns and fresh streaming deals padded his account year after year. Then came the music money. Albums with his band Miles Long packed out venues, while collabs with heavyweights like Robert Glasper and Lala Hathaway kept his name on checks. That 2015 Grammy win didn't just crown him credible, it instantly raised the price tag on every single gig and contract that followed. And the archive, it confirmed it all. Faded contracts, crumpled studio pay stubs, and even property ownership papers that revealed just how carefully Malcolm had built his empire piece by piece. Warner kept 2 sanctuaries, a home in Los Angeles and a quiet apartment on the East Coast, private escapes where he could recharge or disappear into his work. But behind those walls, the story wasn't just about comfort. Whispers swirled about his hidden investments in indie films and community arts programs, proof that Malcolm was planting seeds designed to outlive him. He wasn't just earning, he was building. His fortune wasn't just money in the bank, it was discipline, strategy, and a master plan to make sure his name reached far beyond the TV screen. What left people most stunned wasn't the millions he had, but the way he handled them. No flashy cars lined up in a driveway, No gold-plated mansions paraded across magazine covers. Instead, Warner lived with quiet restraint, modest homes, simple routines, and a laser focus on family, art, and purpose. So when fans finally saw the financial papers inside his archive, they were floored by his restraint. In a world where child stars usually flame out in chaos, Warner had proven himself rare, disciplined, grounded, and always in control. But buried deep within those same files was something far more personal and far more explosive. Hidden between contracts, property deeds, and royalty statements was the faint outline of a secret life he had worked tirelessly to shield from Hollywood's glare. A wife, a child, an entire private world that had never been revealed to the public. Pieced together, these discoveries painted a new image of Malcolm-Jamal Warner, not just the star we thought we knew, but a man who had lived a double life right under Hollywood's nose. Fans thought they knew everything, but the archive told a different story. Between the yellowed film contracts, scribbled music notes, and rare behind-the-scenes snapshots lay one undeniable truth. Malcolm-Jamal Warner had spent his entire life walking a razor's edge between public performance and private reality. He gave the world just enough to keep his career alive for over 4 decades, while fiercely protecting the rest. His family, his feelings, and the exhaustion that came with living under non-stop pressure. These weren't secrets for shock value, they were values he lived by. He shielded the people he loved, preserved his peace, and refused to let the Hollywood spotlight twist his reality. But buried at the heart of that silence was a revelation no one, not even his biggest fans, saw coming: a secret marriage. In 2015, through a mutual friend, Warner met a lawyer from Connecticut. No Hollywood setup, no PR stunt, no celebrity calculation. Just 2 people who began as friends, only to fall into something deeper. In one rare, unguarded moment on his podcast, Hot and Bothered, Warner confessed, "I laid it all out, told her everything." And then, one day, he asked her the question that changed everything. "What do you think about getting married?" Her answer erased every doubt. He had found the one. By 2016 or 2017, the two quietly exchanged vows. No flashing cameras, no glossy magazine spreads, not even a whisper on social media. This wasn't secrecy for drama's sake. It was Malcolm's sacred promise to keep his real family untouched, hidden away from the glare of Hollywood's ruthless eye. In July 2017, Malcolm's life changed forever. On July 2nd, his daughter was born, the moment he had quietly been waiting for. Warner broke his silence just once, posting a simple black and white photo cradling his newborn, with the caption, "Peaceful time with family takes on a whole new meaning." It was one of the rare times the world caught even the slightest glimpse of his private universe, stripped of fame, but overflowing with emotion. From that day on, family became sacred ground. He only dropped whispers, a quick mention of weekends at home, a passing note about teaching his daughter through example, or a casual line about family dinners. But never a name, never a face. For a man who had been trapped under the camera's gaze since stepping into Theo Huxtable's shoes back in 1984, that deliberate silence was his ultimate act of defiance, protecting what mattered most from Hollywood's ruthless spotlight. But long before this hidden chapter, Warner's love life had played out in the public eye. His most famous romance was with Michelle Thomas, his Cosby Show co-star who played Justine Phillips. The two dated from 1988 into the early 90s, and even when the romance ended, their bond never did. Their friendship became one of the most tender and enduring threads in Malcolm's story. When Michelle Thomas tragically lost her battle with stomach cancer in 1998, Malcolm never left her side, staying with her until her very last breath. That loss left a scar he carried for decades. In 2015, he broke his silence with a haunting tribute on Instagram. "If there was ever an angel who walked amongst us mere mortals, this woman was it." Those weren't just sweet words. They revealed the depth of love and loyalty Malcolm carried long after Michelle was gone. After her passing, his longest relationship was with Cosby Show co-star Karen Molina White, stretching from 2000 to 2007. The two were inseparable, sparking constant marriage rumors. But Karen shut them down, calling it nothing more than a long, solid relationship without paperwork or fanfare. Still, 7 years together marked one of the most important chapters in Warner's story. Then came what many thought would be his fairy tale ending. In 2011, Warner began dating Oscar-winning actress Regina King, a woman he had known since the 1980s. Their chemistry was electric, and for a while, they were hailed as one of Hollywood's true golden couples. Fans rooted for them, the press celebrated them, and insiders whispered that this could finally be the real thing. But then came the heartbreak no one expected. On Valentine's Day 2013, their love story suddenly collapsed without warning. Regina herself admitted she was completely blindsided. Warner later tried to reach out, sending flowers with a handwritten note that read, "I still love you." Regina didn't hesitate. She tossed them straight into the trash. And Warner, he stayed completely silent. No explanations, no messy sparring, no tabloid-fueled drama. To outsiders, that silence looked cold. But looking back now, it fit the pattern of his entire life. Ending relationships with quiet respect, never letting private pain become Hollywood spectacle. But behind closed doors, love wasn't his only fight. Professionally, Warner was battling something far heavier. He once admitted there was a time he hated playing Theo. Not because of the lines or the scripts, but because he feared that role would chain him down forever. The Cosby Show, with its 197 episodes from 1984 to 1992, had made him America's Big Brother. But that same success cast a giant shadow over every step of his career. His solution, reinvention, not complaint. Warner flipped the script, directing episodes of Cosby starring in Malcolm and Eddie from 1996 to 2000, and later breaking expectations with layered dramatic roles in Read Between the Lines, Major Crimes, and ultimately as Dr. A.J. Austin. By 2018, Warner had cemented himself again. His performance on The Resident proved he could still grip audiences decades after Theo Huxtable. But then, a shockwave he never asked for hit him from the outside. When the Bill Cosby scandal exploded, the once wholesome image of the Huxtable family shattered in the public eye. Warner had nothing to do with it, yet the fallout splashed onto him too. It's heartbreaking to see something once so pure in people's hearts become tarnished, he admitted. Instead of lashing out or defending himself loudly, he did what he always did. He went silent, burying himself in work and letting his craft speak louder than any words could. Music became his shield, his sanctuary, his weapon. With bass in hand, he built his band Miles Long, dropped albums and toured across the country. And in 2015, when he linked with Robert Glasper and Lala Hathaway, the trio snatched a Grammy for Jesus Children, a career-defining victory that proved Warner could never be boxed in again. Malcolm-Jamal Warner wasn't just a TV star playing around with music. He was a true artist, respected and admired by his peers. Under the crushing weight of fame and endless public scrutiny, he built his own defense system. First, he controlled his story. Interviews focused strictly on his craft, never the messy drama of his private life. When he did mention his wife or daughter, it was in the simplest, purest terms. My wife, my daughter. Anchored in values, never in headlines. Second, he set boundaries no one could shake. Even during the chaos of The Resident's production schedule, weekends were sacred family time. Hollywood parties, industry mixers, all off the table. Warner refused to trade his peace for publicity. And third, he claimed his voice, launching his podcast Not All Hood in 2024, where he finally broke free of media spin and spoke his truth on culture, society, and art in his own raw, unfiltered way. But then came the twist no one could have braced for. On July 18th, 2025, he uploaded a new podcast episode to Instagram. And just 2 days later, tragedy struck. On July 20th, Warner drowned at Playa Coco Beach in Costa Rica. He was only 54 years old, ripped away far too soon. It was supposed to be a peaceful family vacation. Instead, horror unfolded. While enjoying the water with his daughter, a powerful rip current turned joy into nightmare. His little girl was rescued in time, but Malcolm was dragged further and further into the sea, swallowed before help could reach him. His death was sudden, cruel, and devastating, leaving fans shattered and those closest to him broken beyond words. When the final curtain of privacy fell, the world finally got it. Malcolm's secrecy was never about feeding mystery. It was about survival, about protection. He shielded his family from the circus of fame, honored his past loves with quiet respect, and carved out small spaces where he could breathe in an industry that chews stars up and spits them out. That's why the treasures uncovered in his hidden archive hit so hard. Personal love letters to his wife, tender family photos, and scribbled notes carrying haunting reminders like, "Protect what matters most," and "Don't let the spotlight blind you." These weren't just keepsakes. They were a blueprint of how he lived, loving fiercely, guarding what was sacred, and always choosing peace over chaos. Then came the devastating morning of July 20th, 2025. Costa Rica's National Police released the official report confirming every detail. Warner was vacationing with his wife and daughter in the Caribbean region, visiting Playa Coco, a beach celebrated for its beauty but infamous for deadly rip currents. Witnesses recalled how the day looked picture perfect: clear skies, calm waves, nothing to hint that danger was hiding beneath the surface. Warner waded into the water with his daughter, staying close to shore, when suddenly a violent rip current yanked them both away. Locals and lifeguards rushed in desperately. His daughter was pulled to safety just in time. But Warner, he was dragged farther and farther out into open water, swallowed by the sea as the stunned crowd looked on, powerless to save him. By the time rescuers dragged Malcolm back to shore, it was already too late. His heart had stopped. Medical teams fought desperately, performing CPR on the sand and again on the frantic ride to the hospital. But nothing worked. Hours later, the coroner's report confirmed the brutal truth: death by drowning due to asphyxiation. No strange injuries, no signs of foul play, just water, silence, and a final goodbye. A family source later revealed a sliver of comfort in the chaos. Warner went quickly, without suffering. But even with Costa Rican officials giving clear statements, the questions didn't stop. Fans couldn't wrap their heads around it. How could Malcolm, once an athlete in his youth, a man disciplined in fitness and lifestyle, fail to fight off a current? And the doubts only grew louder. Just 48 hours earlier, he had been vibrant online, posting about future plans for his podcast, full of energy and vision. Soon, whispers turned into wildfire speculation. Was there an undiagnosed health issue that struck in the water? Or, as some darker voices online suggested, was his sudden death tied to the timing of that secret archive being unlocked? Coincidence, or something more sinister? Theories spread like gasoline on social media, twisting heartbreak into suspicion. But Malcolm's family and closest friends shut those rumors down with force. His mother, Pamela Warner, released a sharp statement, blasting the chatter as baseless and cruel. "My son passed away in an unexpected accident." She begged the public to honor his truth instead of feeding conspiracies. But by then, the speculation had already taken on a life of its own. There was no crime scene, no dark conspiracy, only the raw grief of those left behind. And yet, the unease lingered. 3 facts kept circling in people's minds: the shocking swiftness of his death, the sudden unlocking of his secret archive, and the way Warner had lived, quiet, guarded, fiercely private. Put together, it didn't create evidence of foul play, but it created something far more haunting. This wasn't a mystery of clues, but a mystery of emotion, a story that left the world unsettled, asking questions no one could answer. How could a man so full of life, so alive with fresh projects and future plans, vanish in mere minutes beneath the waves? That question echoed heavily as his family prepared to lay him to rest. 1 week later, a private funeral was held in the U.S. quiet, closed off. Only relatives and a handful of close friends were allowed in. No press, no flashing cameras, no glossy spreads for magazines, just silence, tears, and the unbearable weight of loss. Every tribute that day painted the same picture: Malcolm as a man of deep warmth, a devoted family man, and a professional who never stopped pushing forward no matter how heavy Hollywood's demands became. Meanwhile, online, his social media pages transformed into digital shrines. Hundreds of thousands of fans flooded timelines with memories and grief, their final messages turning his feed into a wall of goodbyes. The outpouring was overwhelming, proof that even in silence, Malcolm-Jamal Warner had left a mark too powerful to ever fade. Just when it seemed like the grief was settling, the archive resurfaced, and with it came a whole new storm. Family letters, never-before-seen photos, and personal notes so raw they cracked open the private world Malcolm had spent decades fighting to shield. These revelations didn't just tug at heartstrings, they lit the fuse for an explosion of conspiracy theories. Almost overnight, the conversation flipped. Grief turned into speculation, mourning twisted into suspicion. The detail that his secret archive had been unlocked right after the funeral became gasoline for restless minds. YouTube channels, Reddit threads, and pop culture podcasts ran wild with theories, each one darker and messier than the last. Some argued the archive held nuclear-level secrets about The Cosby Show, hidden truths tied to the years before and after Bill Cosby's scandal shattered the family's once wholesome image. They latched onto Warner's own haunting words when he admitted how heartbroken he was watching the Huxtable legacy crumble. Maybe, they speculated, Malcolm had been keeping private accounts that could shake Hollywood if they were ever revealed. Then came another wave of obsession, his hidden family. Because his marriage had been kept under wraps and the identity of his wife and child never revealed, fans and gossip blogs went into overdrive. What if the archive held photos of his wife, secret letters, or shocking details that could rewrite the way the world remembered him? Tabloid-style sites didn't hesitate. They ran wild with it, painting Warner's secret archive not as a memorial, but as a vault of potential scandal waiting to explode. Tabloid blogs started publishing grainy, leaked photos and blurry scans of supposed documents. But when investigators chased the sources, nothing held up. No proof, no receipts, just smoke without fire. Then came the wildest theories, straight out of a Hollywood thriller. Some swore Warner had been secretly preparing to drop a tell-all memoir, or even a documentary that would expose the darker underbelly of the entertainment industry. His death, they argued, was too coincidental to ignore. Fans pointed to his podcast, Not All Hood, launched in 2024, where in his most recent episodes, he hinted at untold stories he was finally ready to share. Was the timing just cruel bad luck? Or was he silenced before he could speak? The speculation spread like wildfire, but then the narrative slammed into a wall. Two key points crushed most of those theories. First, the official coroner's report out of Costa Rica was crystal clear. Warner drowned from asphyxiation. No bruises, no toxins, no foul play, just a tragic accident in the water. Second, Warner's family, especially his mother Pamela, repeatedly shut down the rumors. She called them painful distractions from our grief and stressed again and again there is no hidden truth about her son's death. Even top journalists stepped in. Trusted outlets like People, AP News, and Variety confirmed what the archive really contained. Not scandal, but a lifetime of treasures, family photos, raw handwritten notes, music sheets, contracts, and snapshots from his most iconic roles. In the end, the mystery wasn't a Hollywood conspiracy. It was simply the life Malcolm-Jamal Warner fought so hard to protect. In the end, there were no bombshells hidden in the archive, just memories. But in today's world, speculation always spreads faster than facts. And while official reports tried to shut down the noise, the corrections never hit as hard as the wild theories. For millions who grew up watching The Cosby Show, Warner wasn't just an actor. He was woven into their childhoods, their nostalgia, their very sense of family. And when someone tied that deeply to memory dies, clinging to conspiracies feels easier than accepting the brutal truth of finality. The real mystery of Malcolm-Jamal Warner was never in some Hollywood cover-up. It was in the way he lived, quietly, fiercely, independently, shielding his family, protecting his peace, and refusing to let the industry consume the man behind the role. He left this world the same way he moved through it, without spectacle, without noise. Just a man who gave everything to his craft while keeping his true treasures safe from the spotlight. Warner's legacy stretches far beyond Theo Huxtable, beyond Emmy nods, beyond even that Grammy win. His greatest achievement was proving that the most valuable things in life aren't the ones you display. They're the ones you fight like hell to protect. From the stage lights that first introduced him to the world, to the private moments no camera ever touched, Malcolm left behind a life message: love deeply, live kindly, and guard what matters most, no matter what it costs you. His story may feel unfinished, full of questions with no answers, but maybe that's the point. Maybe his final lesson is that not everything needs to be explained, dissected, or exposed. Sometimes silence speaks louder than all the noise combined. If you want to keep uncovering the real stories and hidden truths behind the stars you thought you knew, smash that like button, drop your thoughts in the comments, hit subscribe, and share this video, because the next story waiting for you might just shake you even more.
See you in the next one.